not as good as mine. Mine is not perfect either, but he will probably say a few words in his English. So it's an honor for us to be here with all of you for the 42nd reunion of the 740th Tank Battalion Association, and especially for this memorial service. Mark told me that I would be able to talk as much as I wanted to, but that's something you should never say to a lady. Anyway, I would like to thank the 740th Tank Battalion Association and the members of that unit who generously paid for all the expenses of our trip. If it wasn't for them, we would not be here today. I would like to thank also the three families, the Johnsons, the Kunovs, and the Gehrens, who hosted us before the reunion and took us all around North and Central Texas. We had, thanks to them, our first Mexican food, our first margaritas, which Marcel really enjoyed. By the way, in reading the names of the 740 tankers who were killed during World War II, Harry mentioned the name of G.L. Montgomery, and he is the uncle of our dear friend Marilia Guerin, who is here with us today. So I want to thank Monty and Marilia for all they did for us. They will be on vacation tomorrow and we will be going better now. And thank you, Lisa, also for being here and for all you did for us. And everybody else who did something for us. You were really very, very, very nice with us. Thanks also to the friends who drove and flew just to meet us and to attend, in the meantime, the 740th Tank Battalion reunion. We are very grateful to the World War II veterans who came from close by or far away, as we know sometimes it's difficult for them to travel at their age. Thank you, Joe, for coming from Massachusetts, and by the way, Joe is our adopted son. We have a young son. For those whom we had not the pleasure of meeting, so we are Matilda and Marcel Schmetz from Belgium, nicknamed by our American friends the Belgium M&Ms. So because of our name, first name and last name. We are the creators of the Remember Museum 3945 in Timister-Clermont in Belgium. Belgium is a very small country, especially compared to Texas. It has only 11 million of people in the whole country. But we speak three languages: French, Dutch, and German. So in 1933, when Hitler became the leader of Germany, Belgium realized that something was again going on. And even being a neutral country, built a defense fortification line a few miles from the German border. It was called the Siegfried Line. You all the veterans know about the Siegfried Line. On May 10, 1940, the German army invaded Belgium and took back the villages that they had lost after World War I. The German army was very powerful, and after 18 days of fighting, the Belgian king decided to surrender, with his soldiers becoming prisoners of war for the next 5 years in Germany, prisoners in Germany. In 1940, near the end of October, the German army advanced the borders again, this time annexing 10 more villages. Clermont, where we live, was part of those villages. The newly annexed villages became German, while the rest of Belgium was living under German rules. Marcel, my husband, was 7 years old when the area where his family lived was annexed to Germany. He was forced to attend primary school in a small neighboring village where only German was allowed to be spoken, so forbidden to speak French, and they speak only French. He and the people of the annexed areas were not trusted by the Germans. They lost all their freedoms and were very controlled. For example, one major freedom they lost, the ability to lock their doors. To most, it's just a little piece of metal, a a key. But it was a big freedom lost, as the SS were allowed to come into your home day or night without permission or knocking on the doors. So there are many little things I could tell you of freedoms that they lost. For example, the German army, when they came, the first thing they took from the civilians, because war is not just soldiers, it's also civilians. The first thing were homing pigeons. They needed homing pigeons. They didn't want the civilians to have homing pigeons. Then they took all the horses from the civilians. They needed horses to pull the cannons. For the German army, in fact, horses were more important than men. They had even gas masks for horses, just in case somebody would use gas. And then they took all the cars from the civilian, put German camouflage over it, put the German cross on the door, gone in the German army. Everything you had in copper, everything, your doorknob, your decorations in coppers were gone. They took all the bells in our churches. They melted that and made ammunition. It was a huge army, so they needed a lot of metal, of course. They knew everything about you. Where we live, we have only farms. So they knew how many chicken you had. So you should bring that many eggs a day to the German office for the commandatur. You had that many cows, you should give them that much milk. If you didn't, you were in trouble, or you were sent to a concentration camp. So everything was controlled. People don't realize that there is nothing worse than a dictator. We have so many freedoms, we take it for granted. We don't even think about it. But we should be grateful for all we have. And like Marcel, he was in a war, so he knows. The veterans here, they know. So we should not take it for granted. And so, he lived like that for more than 4.5 years, in terrible conditions, always controlled, always. And then Liberation Day. You know what's on Liberation Day? Some know, I'm sure. 9/11. 9/11/44. So the whole area where we live was liberated by the soldiers of the 1st Infantry Division. This 9/11 was a very sad day for America, but was once a very, very happy day for people in Belgium. And Marcel told me everybody was drinking, even the kids were drinking. Everybody was celebrating, so it was a very, very happy day. So when we make a ceremony, we mention, our ceremonies are always in September to remember, that's our Liberation Day. But we always make a prayer for the innocent people who died in the States on 9/11. We don't want them to be forgotten. So the American soldiers liberated us, and then they went to Germany. They fought in the Hergen forest around Aachen. So that's very close by from where we live. With winter approaching, some soldiers took a break. At Marcel's parents' farm, which had been transformed into an enormous camp for 110 GIs belonging to the 1st ID 26th Regiment D Company. So this was a paradise for the 11-year-old boy, which had been deprived of everything for the previous 4 years, and changed him for life. Marcel was impressed and transformed by the contrast existing between the previous restrictions and bad treatments during the German annexation, yeah, that's correct, in contrast to the generosity of the American GIs. In the meantime, the tankers of the 740th Tank Battalion, they were taken into the homes of the people at Neuchâteau, Aubin-Neuchâteau, and Mortrou. So these are little villages near Marcel's family farm. So the next 3 weeks were a dream until the beginning of the Battle of the Bulge, when soldiers or tankers left in a hurry for new battles, leaving all their personal items behind. As a result, the Schmetz family and many other families were in front of a real Alibaba cavern. While some families used it or sold the GI's items, Marcel kept them in respect and in memory of those who had left. Over the next 40 years, Marcel taught himself to restore vehicles and opened his own body shop. In '91, thanks to a car accident that I made, which some friends say on purpose, he and I met. Together we established the Remember Museum with all the items left on his parents' farm. Touched and impressed by the respect we have shown these items, more and more American World War II veterans and family members chose to donate their belongings, confident their donated items and their military service would never be forgotten. We have so many friends because of our dedication to the former American soldiers, but also because of our concern for the future and living our life as a bridge between the World War II veterans and veterans of the wars that have occurred since. We are not caught in one time, but we are moving into other wars and sacrifices. Over the years, our visitors have been mainly Americans, but we have more and more Germans also visiting. The Germans seem more reserved, but also appreciate the very personal nature and sensibility of the way in which the museum has been set up. At our place there is no judgment or resentment, only remember. We don't ask for recognition, it's just a labor of love for the Americans. As proof of our dedication, a few years ago we were honored to receive the Outstanding Public Service Award from the Supreme Allied Commander in Europe. And last week, thanks to Monty and Maria, we were honored again with a proclamation by the City Council in Farmersville, the hometown, as you know, of Audie Murphy. Proclaiming Saturday, August 29 as Marcel and Matilda Schmetz Day. We had the pleasure to meet Audie Murphy's sister. She's 84 years old. That was really special to us. So the proclamation submitted by the Gerans was presented to us by the mayor. The main reason for these awards is that we operate the museum, we organize ceremonies, and host free of charge World War II American veterans. I never hosted German veterans, I'm so sorry, only American veterans. World War II American orphans also, all these kids who lost their fathers, you know, and couldn't make a closure. And it's really sad because if they stay in the States, they will never be able to do that. They need to go where that war happened, and that's where we are. So when they come to the graves, the cemeteries, they send them to us, and they can come in my kitchen, have a drink, eat something, they can cry, they can express feelings, they can ask questions. So we have a library, we can help them to find places back, you know, where the father fought. Some don't even know where the father is buried, so I think it's a forgotten generation. You know, the young soldiers who are in other wars and are dying, some have children also, of course, but they have psychologists, so they can talk about it. I don't know, I'm not sure it helps, I hope it helps, but in World War II, you couldn't talk. Shut up, don't cry. That's how I grew up also, you know that. So we all grew up like that, our generation. So, and they are coming at our place, and it's amazing. I feel so guilty when I have that. They are more than 70 years old, and I would love to give them their fathers back. You know, they died for us. What can I do? So I just can try to help them to make a closure. Yeah, that's what we do. So we host the American orphans and the young American veterans of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and other places. So of course we have less World War II veterans coming, but more and more World War II orphans, and they still miss their fathers. So I was talking about reading my speech, but anyway, these children were never able to have closure or express their feelings in the States, as that will happen in Europe or in the Pacific. To us it's a forgotten generation, and we hope it helps when they are able to come and see where their father fought and died. They can also realize that someone needed to free us from the Nazi occupation, dictatorship, and that their father came and made the ultimate sacrifice for all of us. I feel that after their visit, they can better understand, and they seem to be very proud of their fathers. We strive also to let the young wounded warriors of today know that we will always love the Americans, and that we are also touched by what they have done. We will never be able to know the horrors endured by those who gave their lives. We will never have a chance to look them in the eyes and simply say thank you. To the families and those veterans who fought for us, we offer our thanks for their spending countless hours, days and months far away from loved ones, often in extreme and dangerous conditions. We are thankful to these veterans for fighting for our freedoms, and especially for those who made the ultimate sacrifice for all of us. Now, regarding the ceremonies we organize, there is one closest to our heart, the ceremony for the adoption of American grave sites. Every year we hold that ceremony, so the next one will be, when we are going back home, will be the 17th of September. We give out during that ceremony the certificates of adoption to those wishing to adopt a grave site. We personally have adopted 14 graves of young American soldiers who died for our freedom, different units. Adopting a grave doesn't mean we work or maintain the crosses, but we go as often as possible to pray over them and lay flowers. Of course, all the graves of the 740th Tank Battalion men who are resting forever at the American cemeteries in Belgium are adopted by local, dedicated friends. So we took care of that. That is done. Yes. To finish my speech on behalf of my husband and myself, I would like to thank again very warmly the 740th Tank Battalion friends, especially Mark Hatchell, who is the working horse we say in Belgium, and all the American friends for their support in the Remember Museum to help us keep the memory alive and to remind all of us to never forget. We love you, and may God bless America, and may God bless Belgium.